So if you weren't born yesterday, you probably remember this.
Build that wall, 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 build that wall.
And if you were born 2,200 years ago, you probably remember this. And if you're born somewhere in between yesterday and 2,200 years ago, then you definitely remember this. When the Berlin Wall was brought down, the idea of enforced separation was dismissed as something from the past. When the Good Friday Agreement was reached in Northern Ireland, the dividing walls were rebranded as peace walls. Going into the 21st century, there was a wishful thinking that the days of division through physical matters would be left behind in the previous century, and that the only thing separating people would be ideologies. Globalization, free trade, and the internet would rid the world of the barriers that separate people. Some people even openly suggested that perhaps nations would be a thing of the past and that humans would be able to freely travel. But the opposite happened. Our world has built more walls between countries than ever before. Our world is a world of walls. In fact, more than a third of the world's nations have barriers along their borders. A majority of these were built in the past 20 years. But why? Walls are a testament to humans still not being able to resolve its issues, and the most common theme among human history is humans not getting along. By 2900 BC, the majority of cities were surrounded by walls. These walls are mostly to prevent other people who would destroy the city from getting in. Walls are put up all over the world on every continent, and then the walls fell. The invention of gunpowder put an end to walls. But now, 1,000 years after the invention of gunpowder, walls are coming back. While the walls of our past were constructed to protect us from conquesting each other, in the 21st century, walls are constructed by nations with a desire to protect their national identity, and protection from people they view as different.
Racism.
Often the reason given for these walls are immigration, smuggling, and security, but these are often cover reasons. Reasons given out by people in governments to justify the wall because saying, we want to keep X out is pretty racist and nationalistic. It's the 21st century though, and through technology and manpower, you can protect a border better than a wall can. The most notable case of a border wall, for my American viewers, is here in the United States. The US-Mexico border is one of the world's most heavily policed borders in the world. The US and Mexico have had a rocky history, but a recap of that is for another time. In 2015, Donald Trump announced his run for president by demanding a border wall be built on the US-Mexican border and that Mexico will pay for it. As we know, Mexico did not pay for it, and the wall wasn't really constructed in any significant capacity. It also blew over in 2020. The idea of this wall was to prevent illegal immigrants from coming into the United States. Right now, the United States has some version of a border wall / fence across most of the border. You'll notice the big gap is where the Rio Grande is. There are a lot of reasons for the lack of a fence or a wall there, but there are three main reasons that stick out. The first being that the Rio Grande is a natural barrier. It's 328 feet wide and in some areas 60 feet deep. While not even in the top 50 for fastest rivers in the United States, it is still enough to sweep you off your feet during peak seasons. The second reason is that a treaty between the United States and Mexico in 1848 states that the Rio Grande dictates the border between the two countries. As the Rio Grande moves, so does the border. The border agreement is a bit more complicated than that, but that's the gist. The third reason has to do with construction and water treaties in 1944 and 1970. The US and Mexico agreed that neither one of them would build anything within the Rio Grande's floodplain that would affect the flow of the Rio Grande or its flood waters. Obviously, a wall would conflict with that, but in addition to that, a wall would cut off the United States from the Rio Grande, which would be a self-defeating move, especially as the western United States is in the middle of a water crisis. But this stretch of border being unable to be walled despite Trump's demand to do so has created a political mess. It's no secret that Trump wanted the wall not to prevent illegal immigration, but to fulfill his base's desire to protect our national identity. This has become an extremely hot topic issue. Many people have pointed out the history of America and how walls run counter to America's larger melting pot of a story. America's national identity is shaped by the rest of the world. As people immigrate to the United States, they change the cultural framework of America to add in their contribution to our culture. For instance, hot dogs, not an American thing. It was originally a German thing, and when Germans came to the United States, they brought their hot dogs with them. Blue jeans are another example. Levi Strauss invented blue jeans in Bavaria, and then came to America. That's beautiful in a way because blue jeans are about as American as Strauss is himself. Born elsewhere but embraced and shaped by the country he would call home. As America continues to change, there's a certain part of the population that fears Hispanic influence and as a result has become pretty xenophobic. So to answer the question about why more walls are being built, xenophobia. It's a desire to try to maintain national identity. The result of more walls is only inflaming tensions between countries though. When a wall goes up, you can no longer see the people on the other side. The people on the other side become other, and tribalism and nationalism have an easier time of taking hold of people, which only results in more conflicts. That's not to say that walls are useless. For instance, the wall between Israel and Palestine seems like a necessary thing. The issues between those two countries seem unsolvable for the time being. But it's time to wrap this video up. Walls have risen and fallen in the past. It's almost like a cycle. Time will only tell what the future holds for this round of walls. So if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching. Bye.